With that, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And pledge of allegiance, rise please. Ready to begin? Okay, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Pioneer Town, Bacon, Yucca Mesa, Elizabeth, Harmon.
Elizabeth is on leave for 2 months.
Landers, Bacon, Joshua Tree, Mark Lundquist.
Here.
Flamingo Heights, Liv Koenig. Here. Desert Heights, Pat Flanagan. Wonder Valley, Teresa Sykes. Morongo Valley, Gail Suarez. Here. Copper Mountain Mesa, Mary Helen Tuttle, present.
Okay, thank you. Next on is agenda is D, adoption of minutes, and if everybody picked up a copy of the agenda, the minutes will be on the back. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, E, election of chairman and vice chairman. Up for election first will be the chairman. Do I hear any nominations?
I nominate Mark Lundquist.
I accept.
Second.
I accept it. No, there's a vote. Go ahead. Yeah, it was first by,
I make a motion, Mark Lundquist to be chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
okay, so moved.
Any opposed? Now so moved.
Okay, so moved, thank you. Okay, now for the second, we need an election of a vice chairman.
I nominate Mary Helen Pope.
Second? No, I'm secretary.
Oh, you want to say something?
I would like to, with all due respect, I would appreciate staying secretary. I nominate Pat Flanagan as vice chair.
Okay, I accept. You can nominate me.
Went right over my head.
Yeah, you're like I did, you accept the nomination. Okay, do I hear a,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
okay, unanimous, thank you. Okay, approval of minutes,
I move we approve the minutes of March 9th, 2015.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved, unanimous. Okay, call for public comment at this time. If anybody has filled out a card, please bring it forward now.
I haven't filled out a card in so long, but for the future, I appreciate chair, like you said, chair instead of the genderized version of man or woman. It's just chair, so it's neutral and everybody feels like they can be part.
We didn't do that?
You
No,
know,
I
Oh.
said chairman. I did.
Oh, okay, okay.
you said chairperson or something, but just chair is
Okay.
enough.
Thank you, so noted. Okay, public comment. Did anybody fill out any cards? If not, can you rush up there and fill one out? And that's my fault. I should have advertised that first. If you want to comment, you get a 3-minute period and there are cards up front. We'd like to know who you are so we could call you.
Give him a microphone where he was out there.
Tom, stop by and get this mic, would you please?
Okay. Just quickly, I just want to make a quick report about the Bobcats. That group of Joshua Tree and Morongo Basin citizens all got together and drove to Santa Rosa last week. It was a long ways. It was a long trip. It was just kind of a turnaround. And we went up and we talked with the Fish and Game commissioners who are hearing the recommendations from the Fish and Wildlife Services, and that's what this meeting was for. It was called an update. We went up and spoke anyway, and we listened to what the Fish and Wildlife Services recommendation was and how the department felt they were going to implement AB 1213. is still up in the air. They didn't have the information, so there's a discussion meeting coming up June 9, followed by the consent and decision meeting that'll be in Fortuna, California, which is about 5 hours north of San Francisco in Humboldt County. And that'll be taking place in August. And so that should be the end of the decision-making process for the state of California on the Bobcat. So stay tuned. I want to just mention a highlight that happened at the meeting was we had 7 fourth graders show up who just put out the most incredible speeches you ever saw in your life. They made the adults look silly. We all realized we were helping them, and I'm so pleased about that. And it's on Facebook. I see Karen Tracy has posted that clip from the film. So if you want to really get something, make you smile, watch those fourth graders. Thank you. Yeah, Karen Tracy. She posted it.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else would like to make a comment for the meeting? David?
I was just wanting to give an update to the dollar.
You have to,
Microphone.
Oh, which one? This one?
Kat, could you give
here,
him
you can just
yours
try
again?
this one here.
Yeah, thank you, those don't work there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. David Fick, Joshua Tree. I just wanted to give a short and I guess nebulous update to the Dollar General. It's officially in limbo because we haven't heard any reply from the appeals court yet. We don't even know which venue it's going to be in. But that's good news on the long run because it's been over a year since I announced that the EIR was required according to the lower level court. And so it continues on and on. And then also I wanted to give an applause and congratulations to the Sheriff's Department. It has now become a household word nationally, possibly internationally. It just rolls off the tongue now. San Bernardino County Sheriffs. And up till April 8th, they were successful in not having the limelight of national attention on themselves. And they got that far. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, David. Any other comments from the audience? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on then. Public safety reports. I don't see anybody here from county fire. No? Oh, there you are. I thought you okay. Do you have a report for us tonight?
No, I don't. I just came by actually. I just came over to introduce myself. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Hey, that mic, take the mic.
There you go. Is it on?
It's got a little switch there.
One more step? Is that better? Okay. I just came by tonight. I was just on my way back from a call in Needles, and I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Rick Dennison. I'm your new battalion chief in the area. Also, I'd like to mention that John Chamberlain, our new division chief of the South Desert, which Joshua Tree is in, he was unable to make it tonight. He is actually still on his way back from Needles from some meetings we had out there today. So I was able to get here a little bit early and just wanted to say hello. Say that myself and Chief Chamberlain are both available in the Yucca Valley Administration Office. It's located there on Airway and Aviation. So if you have any concerns in Joshua Tree, one of our stations is right here in Park Boulevard. Please feel free to get a hold of us and let us know how we can work with you guys to make things a little better and safer, or any comments that you have, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. CHP, Joan, are you on for report? 2 reports tonight?
Thank you for the time tonight. I just want to make sure everyone knows this is Distracted Driver Month. And it's really all preventable, right? All of these collisions that are occurring because of people texting, using their cell phone while driving, not paying attention, eating, doing everything else but paying attention. And most of you in here, I'm sure, are not the ones doing it. But I'm going to pass these cards around that have some information about following too closely and also about texting. There's a stat on here that says it takes you about 4.6 seconds to read a text message and to send a text message. And at 65 miles an hour, it's taking you about the length of a football field to read that message. You're traveling about the length of a football field without looking at the road. It's pretty scary. And and I believe that the statistics that we have for people who are killed doing these distracted driving behaviors are way, way underreported. So we don't know what happened in those vehicles a lot of times. As much investigation as we do, we don't really know what was going on. Whether someone was throwing down a bag of Del Taco, while they were driving, or just in a hurry, or not paying attention, or had something on their mind. Maybe they were driving when they shouldn't have been because they were upset about an event had occurred, a fight that they had. And so we're going to ask you to take a moment and rethink that a little bit. If you're having an argument with someone in the vehicle, maybe you should pull over and finish that argument before you go back down the road, right? So I'm going to pass these around. I need you guys to educate the people that you talk to. Educate the people that you talk to, because, and I'll go into teens in a little bit, but as many people that admit to texting, when a law enforcement officer is not up there asking them about it, but when they fill out an anonymous survey, the people who admit to it, and you think about in your own minds what you do on a daily basis, and take a little bit of personal responsibility. But if you think about that, just the people that admit to it is scary. It is so scary. How many of us out here, we're afraid of guns? We're afraid of terrorists. We're afraid of planes. We're afraid of a lot of stuff. What's going to kill you is being out on these highways and not driving in a safe manner. So it's scary. So I'm just going to ask you to do that and just give it a little bit of a second thought. Does anyone have any questions for us tonight? Yes?
I didn't get your name.
Joan Griffin.
Deputy?
Officer?
Officer John Griffin. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Joan, we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, next up is a sheriff's report. Do we have tonight Captain Mondary?
I know Joan wishes she could be a deputy, though. Maybe one day. I actually did not bring any statistical information this evening. I know we've got a couple of presentations, so I will try to keep it short. But while Joan's trying to keep us safe on the street, I'll try to give you some information that can help you stay safe in your home and protecting your identity. And talk real briefly about social engineering, which has actually been going on for a long, long time. But it's basically where someone psychologically engages you in a conversation, and usually this is over the telephone or on the computer to get information from you, then to ultimately steal your identity. So whether it comes via an email from your bank or your credit card company. You guys could do this at home. Literally, you should know how easy it is to steal, if you will, the Discover logo. I mean, you can right-click on it and then cut and paste it into another email and make it look like it is coming from your credit card company. Or if you get a phone call, which this is now the biggest occurrence, where somebody will call you and say, this is Visa calling you, or Bank of America, or Wells Fargo, or whatever, and we think your bank account has been compromised, so we need to verify some information. Do not give people that cold call you any of your information. And I have this happen time and time again to me, where my credit union might call me and say, if I've got a thing set up that if I actually travel out of the area, they automatically decline any charges unless I call them beforehand and say, hey, this is me. So I know that if I travel out of state, and most recently I went to North Carolina, visited my brother, He picked me up at the airport. We were getting gas on the way back. I put my card in before the tank was full and the pump had shut off. My bank was calling me. I had forgotten to call them, so I knew it was them, so I actually gave them the proper information. But if you don't know, don't give them information, especially if they should know it. They say, we want to verify your social security number, can you give it to us? Now, I won't do it, and I tell them, no, I will not. Why don't you tell me what the last four of my social security number are, and I'll tell you if you're correct or not. And if you have any question about that, just look on the back of your bank cards. There's a telephone number. So you can tell those people, thank you very much for the notification. I'll call the bank. Hang up the phone, and then you can call the bank itself. And if they haven't, then you're going to want to check your credit history immediately. And in California, most people are not aware of this, you are entitled to one free credit report from each credit reporting agency a year. And you should be taking advantage of that opportunity and checking your credit every year to make sure that there's not some charges on there that you don't know about, so that you can protect yourself. And that's going to be it for me this evening, except to say this: when Rick introduced himself saying he's new to the area, he was being less than truthful. Rick actually lives in Yucca Valley. His kids have graduated from Yucca Valley High School. He's been a member of the Morongo Basin for quite some time. It's just his job has led him elsewhere. So we're happy to have yet another local person back up here. And at the sake of getting beaten up this evening, does anyone have any questions for me?
I have just a really quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a chase in the desert last weekend or 2 weekends ago. I happened to have been at a vantage point where I could see that the perp was going one way and you guys were going the other way because of the way the wind was. We dialed 911, which seemed to have taken some time. What is the local number that we should have dialed? I think you had told it once.
Well, our local number is 760-366-4175. But where that phone is answered Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So on after hours and on the weekends, it actually gets transferred over to the jail, and then the jail will answer it, and then they would transfer you to dispatch. So 911 in that instance that you just gave would be the appropriate number to call, but I'm going to guess there were probably a ton of 911 calls at that time.
Oh, probably not. I think we were the best.
Oh, I'm sure you were. So, but that is information that's very useful to us, and that came to a very successful conclusion. So we were happy about that. And a matter of fact, the victim called today wanting to do something other than just writing a letter to thank us for the work that we did. She wanted to buy us pizza or something, and I told her, ma'am, you do not make enough money to buy pizza for our sheriff's department officers. They would eat way too much. Yeah, that would bankrupt her if she asked you to get donuts. But yeah, in those instances, just call 911. Yes, ma'am.
That brings up another question, same evening, but I have a question. When officers, sheriffs, and highway patrol are pretty much in pursuit or going at a high speed, should not they have their lights on? Same thing happened to me that night. I was crossing with a green light on the highway, and out of nowhere came a sheriff patrol, wanted to turn north on Sunburst. He had his lights on. I let him go. I didn't realize it was sheriff. He just about ran into beside me, then he put his lights on and went around me. But I've seen it happen other times where they don't have their lights on, they're going at high rate of speed.
And I will bring that up to them, because driving safely is actually one of our top priorities. There are reasons sometimes that they don't, and I'll be happy to discuss that with you, but I would say just Monday morning quarterbacking it in that situation that you just described, yes, they should have had their lights on.
This was about 10:30, and it was, it's hard to judge at night especially, how fast cars are
Right.
coming. And I did have a green light. I didn't see it until I was halfway across the intersection. It was coming that fast.
Yeah, and especially if they're going through an intersection. So
He was turning the same way I was going, so.
okay, I'll make sure I address that at briefing. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, not a question, but just to add a little bit, excuse me, to your original information, and thanks for what you presented. Your banks, most likely, if you get emails trying to get your personal information, say, like I've gotten stuff saying, oh yeah, your Bank of America's been compromised, quick, send us all your information. Your bank wants to know that, and your bank will forward that on and actively pursue. So you can call your bank and say, hey, I just got a phony email, and they're claiming to be you.
And that's true, and actually, most banks will not, if a major financial institution has been compromised, it will be in the news. So don't fall for that. We were compromised, but we're trying to keep it a secret. It will be in the news, and you're right, most banks actually will, when you sign up or you get a new account, they will tell you right out of the gate, we will not ask for your information over the internet. So if someone's asking for that information, it's not us, and contact us, the bank, immediately.
Yeah, because
So
we'll actively pursue that.
they will, and that's a very good point, so thank you for bringing that up. Yes, ma'am.
Another point to that is don't delete it, because then you can forward it to the bank.
Yes, and not only that, but if you don't delete it, then our high-tech crime unit, and sometimes with the help of the FBI, we can actually backtrack those and find the IP address and find out who's sending them. So yeah, definitely don't delete them. Again, your best way to defend yourself is not forwarding things, not opening things that don't look familiar, and pay a couple of bucks a year for a really good, and I'll just say this off the top of my head, I'm not endorsing them over anybody else, but like Norton Security, there's a lot of very good security programs that you can purchase. So.
Norton's way down.
Oh, I just said I'm only using that as an example. So yeah, there are a lot of good ones. So, anyone else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Captain, appreciate it. Okay, next we'll go to presentations, and Officer Griffin is back with a presentation on teen driving program.
So I was going to show a video, but I thought you'd be more entertained by listening to my beautiful voice. So we're trying to really push our Start Smart program. Now, if you haven't heard about Start Smart before, it's a teen driving program that we have. It's free. We do it at our office once a month, and you wouldn't believe how few people sign up for it. So I wanted to take a few minutes to just explain it and what we do and what goes on in there. I'm going to tell you that I haven't had one parent who sat through that class come up to me and say that was a total waste of time. In fact, I get the opposite reaction. And I get a lot of people who sit through the class and say, I'm glad I came because I learned something in addition to their kid. So I'm just asking you, if you have a teen, a new driver, anyone between 14 and 19 really could come to the class, to take that time. And I'm going to give you a few statistics. Now, a lot of these have to do with distracted driving again. But distracted driving and reckless driving is the #1 killer of teenagers in America. #1 killer of teenagers in America. And there's not a traffic collision that has occurred out there that's an accident. Traffic collisions are not accidents. Accidents happen when everyone did everything they were supposed to do and then something just happened anyway. Traffic collisions occur because someone did something they weren't supposed to be doing. And whether someone wasn't paying attention to their speed, they weren't obeying the traffic signals, they were distracted and just engaging in conversations with other people in the car, drinking and driving. And you would think that as much emphasis as we do put on impaired driving, alcohol and drug use, that would be the #1 killer of teens. But no, 75% of teens killed in traffic collisions are reckless and distracted driving. So this class that we have called Start Smart, we've revamped it. So it's exciting and new. It's not the old boring Start Smart if you came before, which it was never boring, but it's way better now, okay? And I want to encourage you, even if you've come in the past, to come back. Yes, we show Red Asphalt. It's Red Asphalt version 5 for anybody who saw the original. I've had parents in the class tell me, hey, I saw Red Asphalt #1. And I asked them, which one was better. But we've revamped it. We have a new program. We even have these snazzy new brochures that talk all about Start Smart. Basically what happens is you sign up ahead of time with your teen, and the two of you come in and sit down with a group of other parents and teens. And within about 2 hours, hopefully you've learned something. We're trying to change our culture because we have a complacency culture out there when we drive. Think about how much time you spend in your car and the things that you do in your car. I used to have a 102-mile commute one way.
Wow.
What do you think I did in my car? I ate my meals in there, right? Maybe I conducted some business on the phone. Maybe I did before the cell phone laws. Was I paying attention the whole time? Have you ever been in the car and driven a long distance and not remembered how you got there? So we want to bring these things up and be honest with our teens about them, that these things occur. This stuff goes on, and we need to stop it. It's not acceptable anymore. It's not acceptable anymore to not wear your seatbelt. It's just downright dumb. It really is. There's no reason not to wear your seatbelts anymore. And we're trying to instill that habit in our kids. We're trying to instill that habit of when two kids get in the car together, that they're not going to go down the road and engage in a bunch of misbehavior. We want them to have fun, right? We want them to be kids. But when they're in their car, they need to pay attention. So we try to instill that in them. And in these Start Smart classes, we're honest with them about what does go on in a car. Do you have, if you're a parent and you have two kids in the back, are they distracting you? Right? Do they distract you? Have you ever had more than one kid in the back seat of your car? What's going on back there? They're fighting, they're horse playing, they're everything but being calm in the car. Well, we're trying to teach these kids to be good passengers also. And that when they're driving, they're in charge. They're in charge of what goes on in that car. And just because if you're driving as an adult and you have kids in the back seat of your car and they're acting like that, how do you think they're acting when you're not there? And there's another teen driving. We all were there once. Who was a teenager who got in a car with other teenagers? And what went on? A lot of kids didn't make it. 2/3 of teenagers that are killed in car crashes were killed when another teen was driving the car. That is an alarming statistic. So we just want to bring all of that to the forefront, be honest about it. We're going to talk to them about you as a parent, your role and responsibility in their driving. We're going to tell them that just because the DMV gave them a license, that doesn't mean that mom and dad can't take the license away. We're going to make sure that they know that. You're in charge of that. If they're driving your car, you've got a lot of responsibility in allowing them to do that. So we want to make sure that they understand that, and we want them to know that we're going to back you up. We're going to back you up with that. I stopped a kid. He was 16 years old. He had his license for 1 hour. He was going 96 miles an hour. And he had his little brother in the front seat, and they were having a great time, right? That's pretty scary. 96 miles an hour, that's kind of fast, right? Is it a little fast? And they were having a good time. Well, in California, we now have what's called a graduated driver license. So what happens is, at 15 and a half, the teen can go get their permit if they pass the written test. You as the parent would take them there. And then for the next 6 months, they're gonna practice driving. And I say, if you're gonna put your kid in the car and you're gonna teach them to drive, they're now your chauffeur. Okay, they drive you around everywhere. And one thing we bring up is I like to pick out the kids who play sports. Anybody play sports when they were a kid? Okay, anybody? What'd you play?
Baseball, basketball, cross country.
So how many hours a week did you spend practicing sports, sir?
I don't know, I'll say 20.
Do you still play any of those sports?
Basketball and softball from time to time.
A little bit, right? So we only require our teens to practice 50 hours before they get their license. To practice doing something they're going to do for the rest of their life. Meanwhile, they'll go practice sports for 20 hours a week and never do it again. Something you're going to do for the rest of your life. We're only requiring 50 hours. So we're going to press upon them that it's just not enough. And we're going to press upon you, the first time that your kid drives to LA or drives on a freeway and drives in bad weather, do you want that to be them to be alone, or do you want to be with them? And I'm not going to give away the whole program here. I'm not going to tell you the whole deal. I'm just begging you. Please come. It's free. It's free. And you can come more than once. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have simulators? Because, you know, when I went to driver's ed in school, we had these cool simulators because they just came out, but now in school they don't even have driver's ed.
So you're right. There is a little bit of driver's ed, but it's very hard to get into.
Right.
And no, I don't have a simulator, nothing exciting. But I do have DUI goggles, and I'm happy to put them on people and give them field sobriety tests and laugh at them, okay? I'll bring those next time, okay? But we do have a good time, okay? I have a good time in the teen driving class because, you know, we're gonna talk about the real stuff that goes on and talk about honesty and talk about when that 17-year-old boy has his first girlfriend in the car and how he needs to keep both of his hands on the steering wheel. Okay, not one around her neck because he needs to drive and he's just learning how to drive. It's a skill. It's a skill to learn how to drive, and if you don't do it, as you get older, you can lose it also. So I'm not here to talk too much about my Age Well class that we have, but we do have an Age Well class. And I would suggest, you know, if you hear about those, come to those. I love those classes. Those classes are a blast. So I'm just begging you, please come to Start Smart. Our next class is going to be on Wednesday the 29th at 6 o'clock at the Highway Patrol Station. And you do need to pre-register because we have it in our office and we do it on a first come first served basis. If I have one kid sign up, I will still do the class, and I've done it. I've done it with one kid and one parent in there a couple of times. So, and they get the same full class because anytime I can get in front of a crowd or get in front of a kid and they're forced to listen to me and my propaganda, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that opportunity.
What's the number they call to sign up?
So they call the Highway Patrol office at 760-366-3707. And normally we had these classes about once a month on a Wednesday. In May, I think we're going to also have one on a Saturday. I just don't know what day it is. So look at the paper. The radio's real good about putting it out there for me. The paper's real good about putting it out there for me. And if you just want to call and talk to me about it, and I'll tell you all the days also. So
Are you going to leave some of those brochures?
I am. We keep some older ones here that we still have, but I'm going to leave all of these here, and anyone who wants one, please take one. And if you know anybody who can use one, you know, please take it and pass it out. They don't have to be up in this area. You know, these classes are done at all of the CHP offices. So if you have a family member up north, encourage them to call their local CHP office and find out about this program and when they have them, because they're done everywhere. We're doing them all over the place because this is important. You know, our kids are dying out there, and it's senseless. It's needless. We can stop it by changing that culture. And then please, when you're in the car and you're driving and you have your kids, set that example. Set that example. Wear your seatbelt. Stay off your phone. They're going to do what they see you do. They're going to think it's okay. And so if they see you wearing your seatbelt and it's a habit and it's part of your family's life, then they're more likely to wear their seatbelt. And if they're used to seeing their mom on the phone all the time and texting, my mom used to, on the way to church every Sunday morning, put on her makeup in the rearview mirror, and her knees were driving the car, and I know that that's not acceptable because of my job now, but good Lord, you know, I'm surprised we survived. She's up there. That's distracted driving, folks. You can get a citation for driving at an unsafe speed for that. It's against the law to do that. It's absolutely against the law. So I've seen people playing the violin on the freeway down on the 91, reading the newspaper down on the 91, and it's not as much of a bad thing up here. People aren't stuck in traffic for hours and hours typically, unless you're driving through Yucca Valley, right? So I mean, it can take you a long time to get through there, but you know, pay attention out there. And it may not be you that you need. You may be a perfectly good driver, but you need to pay attention to the guy and be able to, who's next to you, and be able to react to him. Be able to react to the other people and drive defensively. So please, please, please come to our class, and you'll have a great time, I promise. Anyone else have any questions about the program? Yes, sir.
I was curious, did you go to court with that young 1 hour driver? The one who was driving 96 miles an hour?
No. I never saw him again. And he got a ticket for going 96 miles an hour. He also got a citation for having his brother in the car, because when you first get your license, you cannot have people under the age of 20 in your vehicle. You're restricted unless it's some type of emergency situation, and that includes siblings. That's not an exception. So a lot of people think that, oh, well, I can drive my brother or sister on, and you can't. That's not an exception in the law. And it's because so many kids before didn't make it. Kids drive better when they don't have other kids in the car. And when they're learning to drive, think about how you drive. If you drive better when you have no other people in the car, right? So if you have other kids in the car with you distracting you, not acting like good passengers, then that's probably why he was driving 96 miles an hour, because he had his kid brother in the front seat and they're having a party. You know, oh, I just got my license, you know. So that's what happens. But no, I never saw him in court.
Do they have to have a driver's license in order to take your class?
No. And it's appropriate for anyone 14 and over, because the parent's coming. It's a serious topic. It's a serious class. We require a parent for a variety of reasons, but one is it gets kind of tense in there, and I've had kids cry on me, and I need, well, it's kind of upsetting if you've ever seen red asphalt. And a lot of kids may have had that, have lost friends and maybe been affected by it personally, because we talk about fatalities and traffic collisions. So, thank you.
Thank you, Joan, I appreciate it. Okay, the next presentation is from Stephen Martinez, County of San Bernardino, Department of Public Works, and he's going to present a bike trail opportunity for our town of Joshua Tree.
Okay, set this on the end of the table. Sure.
Thank you very much, council members, for having me here tonight. I'm Steve Martinez with the Department of Public Works for the county. That's my colleague, Ronnie Edis, over there. And we have an opportunity to apply for a state grant under a program called the Active Transportation Program. And the Active Transportation Program is designed to provide funding on a competitive grant basis, meaning that if we submit an application, we have to score well enough to get awarded funds, and we're competing against other cities and counties. This is statewide. So there's a big pool of money, but all the needs in the state, there's not enough to go around so that everybody gets something. So this Active Transportation Program is designed to provide funds for infrastructure that will encourage biking and walking. All right, okay, so before I continue further, there is a sign-in sheet on a yellow clipboard. Is it still up here? If you haven't had a chance to sign in, could you please sign in, because the state wants to know, did we actually go out and talk to the community? So pass it around. Okay. We also have a little brief questionnaire. It's only about 1 page long about your walking and biking practices and what you think about our project. And I'm going to explain it shortly. And then if you have comments about other public works projects, not this particular one that we're talking about, we also have a comment card. So she'll be passing around these comment cards and some pens, and you can, if you please, if you've got comments about transportation projects in general, you can use this one. And if you have comments about this project in particular, you can use it the backside of the questionnaire to give us your comments. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
Where you're going to develop the proposal, or can you just say generally we want to increase the infrastructure, here are some proposed areas, or, I'm just wondering how you're going to write the grant.
Both, actually. Well, here's how we're writing the grant. We have an idea of what we'd like to do based on feedback we've gotten before. As you know, there's a Class 1 bike path out here on Sunburst. It starts from State Highway 62 and goes to the old elementary school. And when we built that because kids could then ride their bikes to the school. Well, what happened to the old elementary school? They found out it was built on an earthquake fault, and they had to build the new school up there by Calle de los Amigos, right? And so our proposal is, I think it'd be a good idea then to extend that Class 1 bike path. Class 1 means that it's separated from the roadway. We think it'd be a good idea to finish the bike path, go all the way up to the new elementary school. And so that's what we would like to do. But the objective of this meeting is first to get your input on this proposed project, and two, to hear what your priorities are. This is what we think is a good idea, but do you guys think it's a good idea? That's what we're looking for. Yes?
Both Yucca Valley and 29 Palms have bike paths. Is there any look at trying to connect to those?
Yes. The county has something called a non-motorized transportation plan, and it's an inventory of all the existing and proposed bike paths countywide, corner to corner. Okay. And so, yeah, we are looking for connectivity. Here's the challenge that we have in the county, is that in order to put in a bike path or bike lane, your road has to be wide enough. And not only does it have to be wide enough, but if you need to widen it, you have to have the rights to that extra land that's on the side of the road so that you can widen it. If you don't have the what's called the right-of-way, if you don't have the right-of-way, then we can't do it without having to buy that property or a portion of that property.
You can't do like an easement with the Edison or something.
That's one,
off of
yes.
the highway itself, so you've got a separate path.
That's a possibility. Now, for this proposed project, we looked at, let's see, here's the old school down here, and then just north of the school, we're looking to see if maybe we can get funds to widen the road and put in a Class 2 bike path. The Class 2 bike path is the striped lane. All right, and then the Class 3 is just a little painted bicycle on the road. You basically share the road with cars. All right, okay, so we're looking for a Class 2 bike path, which is the painted lane. We're looking to widen the road by about 12 feet so that we have enough room there to put in the painted bike lane. And what we're hoping then is that we'll have a nice continuous path all the way from State Highway 62 up to the new school. Okay, does anybody have any comments on that or questions? Yes.
Another question. How much is the max funding for the grant?
They haven't said what the max is, but there is a sweet spot that they will award. I mean, if you're going to ask for $10 million, for example, they realize they can get 10 $1 million projects, which they'd rather do than get one $10 million project. This particular one, in order to buy all the road, or to widen the road, lay down all the asphalt and stripe it, is going to cost about $1.2 million to go all the way to the school. One side. Just on one side. Yes?
How many kids do you think will use it?
That's what we're going to do. Part of the grant is then we have to do a survey to see how many kids will use it. We're actually going to do what's called a traffic count, a pedestrian and bicycle count, in which we'll count how many are currently using it. And then we're going to survey the kids at the school to find out how many would use it if it was constructed.
I have a question.
Sure.
Probably a comment. I've lived up here forever. My kids went to school at Friendly Hills, Both those schools are accessed on Oklahoma. Now, you just said you're gonna do a count. I didn't allow my kids to go in Oklahoma. There's no room, it's a soft shoulder. The time of day that they travel to and from school is also the time of day that the sun's going up and down. And Altaloma is horrible. And I know some of you have heard me say it before. I ride a bicycle a lot. And I don't ride on Altaloma. It just scares the crap out of me. And you identified Sunburst. I think Sunburst, there's a few roads that I think need a bike path. And they need a safe route to school. And I think Sunburst is one of them. They have a brand new school out there. The bulk of the kids that go to Sunburst, I don't know if it's the bulk, but the ones that can't take a bus is downtown Joshua Tree. Those kids either have to get a ride by their parents or they have to walk. And if it was my kids, I don't want to walk them. I don't want to walk it on Sunburst. Sunburst has a lot of Crown. They lowered the speed limits. That's great. But when you come over to the Crown, you can't see the kids. The kids don't want to walk in the sand and the dirt. On Altaloma, you have two major schools. You have, Joan brought up the traffic in Yucca Valley. I'm glad you did that. Because there are so many signals on Highway 62 now, a lot of people are taking Altaloma. Then you also have the traffic from the Joshua Tree National Park. Now, they get off the highway because there's so many signals. So they just take Altaloma. And now you have kids that live within that same 2 miles, aren't allowed to ride a bus, and they're supposed to walk on Altaloma. It's just not going to happen. I allow my kids to do a lot of stuff, but walk on that road wasn't one of them. And it was a great opportunity cost for me because I wasn't able to say, get out of here, because now I can go do whatever I want to do. But that's not the truth. We had to take them to school every single day, and believe me, it was okay. But if you're looking at priorities and grants, I mean, you've got schools, the kids, they don't qualify to take a bus. It's a hazard. We have an overpopulation of motorists on the roadways. Maybe that would help meet your justifications for your project.
Yes.
I just want to support what he said regarding Altaloma and what is it called in Joshua Tree? Or in Yucca Valley, Yucca Trail.
Yeah.
That strip, I have seen so many close calls there. I live really close to there. People are passing all the time. There's bicyclists on that road that I've seen almost cause accidents if someone's trying to swerve around them. There's absolutely no shoulder.
Yeah.
I've ridden a bike on it, and I pulled off to the side. I'm an experienced bicyclist, and I bike in some very unsafe places. I pulled off the road and called my partner to come pick me up because I was...
Because Altaloma is pretty bad?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
And I will ride on Sunburst. I'm not saying Sunburst isn't a priority. I think that is a priority as well.
Got it,
That
okay.
Where you identified is a priority as well. I think the two along Altaloma and Sunburst and then going up into the park are like three in my mind that, we've discussed.
Sunburst, Altaloma, and what was the third one?
Park Boulevard going into the park primarily, there's a lot of tourists and now we have, various different businesses that are supporting people on bicycles. But I think the schools is the priority in my mind. And so I just want to support what he says. And I also wanted to make a comment that there is a loose coalition of people in the Morongo Basin, including Gary and Gemma, who owns the bike shop in town, people who are really active in terms of wanting to increase bicycle infrastructure and safety in this area. And we'd be really interested in engaging with you if it helps in the grant process.
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have business cards on the table here. Maybe we can pass those around.
Great.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, my email address is on there. I'm not always accessible by phone because I'm in and out of meetings all the time, but I always look at email. Great. Thank you.
And we can fill out additional surveys of people I know.
Oh, would you? And mail them in to us? Yeah, sure. Great. Thanks.
Would it be considered to have a class 1 uphill on Sunburst? Because there is a hill on Sunburst, if you haven't noticed, between where the school is and Crestview, and it's quite an uphill.
now Crestview is it south of the school or north of the school? Right. Oh, north of the old school. Okay, got it. And Crestview is somewhere in this stretch. Got it, okay. All right.
Get it to where it's flat and then make it into a class 2.
Okay, so now, I got to mention a couple of challenges that the county has. Is first of all, that for road purposes, the county only has 2 funding sources, two main ones, and that is the excise tax that's on gasoline and Measure I. Measure I is the half-cent sales tax increase that's devoted solely to transportation. The problem is that excise tax, which is the biggest portion of our funding, as cars are required now to become more fuel efficient, that pot of money available to us now is steadily decreasing. So the needs are still there, and we still have wants like something like this bike path, but the challenge is trying to, the limited funding that we have is we can't do everything. So what we do is we try to aggressively pursue grants with the state. The challenge with that is that it takes a little bit of time. It might take 3 or 4 years before you finally have your project completed because, for example, in this program, they're going to provide the funds in the year 2017, and then 2018, 2019, and 2020. So they're going to spread it out over a 3 or 4 year period. So it's going to be a while before we can get to the point where that's actually constructed if we get awarded. That's not the only funding opportunity. Like I said, we try to go after as many as we can. All right, any other questions? Yes?
I feel like my kids are going to be in college by the time all this stuff happens.
Yes, unfortunately.
So, like him, I moved above the school, so we could like walk down to the school, the kids could ride their bikes. We might try it next year when they're that little bit older. But, I've got a friend that, here's the school, she lives just down the street on Altaloma, and, they can walk, but, like, every time I see people on the side of that road walking, I'm just, like, praying for them, basically, to get home safely.
Yes.
Because it takes one tire just slightly in that dirt, bam, and then they're gone.
And the projects, too, that we choose, we have to make sure we have that right-of-way that I was talking about, because, purchasing land to do the project, that's a big chunk. And then the state is saying that they're reluctant to fund projects that have, where you have to buy quite a bit of land in order to put the project down. Yeah, any other questions, comments, feedback? Yes?
Well, I'm just interested in having an artery that connects it all together. And so something I've been sort of lobbying around about is having a bicycle path that is following the utility right-of-way on Highway 62. Connecting Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree, 29, perhaps the park and the base, and then having the schools meet it. If anything like that could be done where there's a partnership, I guess, between the state and federal government, both municipalities. And I'm only saying that because I'm encouraged when I look at the effort being made in Coachella with, perhaps you've heard of the CV link. It's a 50-mile path in Coachella Valley, all the local communities and grants and so forth are working together to create a pathway that joins all the communities for bicycles and pedestrians.
And we're seeing this big push now at the state and federal level is to do more of these types of projects rather than road projects. They really want to get people out of the cars and onto active movement, bicycling and walking. Okay, do I have a time limitation here? I can wrap it up.
No, I was just thinking of something.
Go ahead.
I think that, my opinion is, I think it would be better if there was a bike path and or a sidewalk going from downtown Joshua Tree to the post office. That seems like a really dangerous stretch, and more people are using that as we get more people into Joshua Tree.
And the bike shop is by the post office.
Yeah, I mean, I see people riding on the side of the road in the little motorized carts. No, it's not a moped, they're handicapped people, and they go to the church there to get their the food on Wednesdays.
Yeah,
For wheelchairs, yeah.
Wheelchair, yeah.
Motorized wheelchairs.
That's my opinion.
Some of them may be addressed by the Caltrain.
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, I believe,
Yeah?
yeah, they're trying to incidentally bring the highway to current standard, and that includes a nice shoulder, which we impressed, because that's another area I avoid. I've ridden from his shop to, long, and it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be a nice stroll.
If you've completed your survey, could you just like hold it up and we can collect them?
Do you have these online?
No, we don't, I'm sorry.
That's too bad.
Yes,
So it's almost like, I don't want to influence your survey because I not only don't live in Joshua Tree, I live on a dirt road and I don't ride a bike. And, so I'm not a good person to answer, but I did.
no, we want, yeah, even from an outside perspective,
I think bikes are great, but I can't get to into town. Thank you.
oh, no, thank you.
If I was to spend somewhere, it'd be nice if we could go to work.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Yes.
The only thing more efficient than a bicycle, a person riding a bicycle is the parks and the water. That, I found that one time, I used to ride a bike all the time. But we gave it up when we came to the Morongo Valley, there was no place to ride.
Right.
Riding against the wind.
Okay, are there any yellow comment cards that were completed?
I left the comment cards, you can even fill them out later, and Mike can get them to me. They're on the table up here. If you have any other public works concerns that you'd like us to get back to you with.
All right, anybody else with surveys?
Do you have an email address to send me?
Yes.
Good one.
Oh, is this, with this new proposal on this class 2, are you going to repave the class 1 bike lane? That's already existing?
I don't-
It's shambles, right? I mean, I don't ride.
Right, I know, I've seen it on the way up, and I'm gonna bring it up to the yard guys, that if they could touch it up a bit.
Yeah, and on that point, I guess I would just encourage you in the grant to somehow factor in money for maintenance on the bike path, because out here in the desert, a lot of sand blows onto the road, there's a lot of debris that blows into those lanes, and without the maintenance, they're pretty much useless.
Right, right. Good point.
But here's three that are volunteer to assist you in any way.
Yes.
Great, if I could get your contact information. All right, thank you everyone very much for letting me come and give our presentation, and thanks for giving me your input.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez, we appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next up is Pat Flanagan report on WEMO, but I guess we're having a little computer issues here. We're having some computer issues for her presentation. Aha. Pat, you want to go try that out and make sure it's working, and then we'll all move. Oh, okay. All right, Pat Flanagan is going to have a presentation on the WEMO, the BLM West Desert Project. Pat?
Thank you. There you go. So as a representative for Desert Heights, this is an important issue for me. And I think it's going to end up being an important issue for most anybody who lives in a community out there that has any BLM land that is checkerboarded through your area. Let's just get quieted down a little bit here. WEMO means West Mojave. And so when we refer to it, there's other plans. There's the East Mojave, and there's I think there's 4 altogether. And, yeah. I think we could turn off the lights. Okay, thank you. So it's the West Mojave Route Network Project. When they do this, it will be a draft amendment for the California Conservation Plan, and what's out now is the supplemental environmental impact statement. It's out now because the original one was taken to court, and they lost on a number of issues, which I'm not going to go into, but if you were to go on either the Morongo Basin Conservation Association or the Community Off-Road Vehicle Watch, there's a big discussion of that. But the point is, they lost in court, and they were supposed to go back, and they were to come up with 4 plans that were less than or different than the original 5,000 mile plan. And, okay. And so they have done that, and you'll see what they are in a minute. But I want you to be alert to what the mission of the Bureau of Land Management is. It is to sustain the health and productivity of public lands for the use and enjoyment of present and future generations. And this is important to remember. By the way, this PowerPoint is also available on those websites. You don't have to take any notes. And they manage activities such as outdoor recreation, livestock grazing, mineral development, and energy production, and they conserve natural, historical, and cultural resources. That's a huge job. Okay. They manage 253 million acres in 12 western states, plus they administer 700 million acres of subsurface mineral estates. Their budget is over $1 billion, but if you do the math, that's about $1.05 per acre. We know from working with the BLM out here that they have 2 law enforcement officers and no money. So can the BLM actually carry through with their plan? The purpose and need of the plan is to do a transportation management program and to implement it in the West Mojave area. And they wish to limit conflicts and threats and to respond to current and future transportation and travel needs and provide appropriate recreational access. Okay. There are 4 alternatives. The first one is the no action alternative. That goes back to the 2006 original West Mojave plan, covers 5,038 miles of routes. The second alternative is 4,282 miles. The fourth alternative is 5,782, but their very favorite, their preferred, is 10,428. So instead of perhaps looking at less, they doubled. There are many problems with the plan this presentation addresses through the use of maps, the violation of the county OHV ordinance, the lack of coordination with the county and sheriff, CEQA, community disruption, property values, and tax revenues. This is not about legal off-highway vehicle riding and riders, okay? So it's almost like I want to go stand and see how well you can see these maps, but when I tried this out here last week, it was difficult to see some things, so I've tried to rearrange. That is the geography of the West Mojave. So at the top, the pink rectangle, that's the Naval Weapons Station up there, and the Owens Valley is to the left of that. The little foot down at the bottom is Joshua Tree National Park, and that is we're going to look closer up at the no action alternative next. So if you're looking in the Morongo Basin, the dotted road on the left is 247. To the right, you have Copper Mountain. We know there's a lot of routes up there, but you will notice there is no green in any of the area surrounding that. Green means OHV routes. You look up to the left of that, you'll see quite a few going into the area near Black Lava Buttes and then up towards the Marine base. Are you all seeing what I'm saying? Okay, pardon me? Well, we're going to see Wonder Valley in a minute. The word Wonder Valley, that is the name of the subregion. Okay, sorry, that's the names appear outside. Okay, so the next slide, well, go to the right. There you see Copper Mountain on the left, and you're going to see the original route for the Wonder Valley area, which has been having major troubles for a very long time now. but you will also note that there doesn't appear to be too many. There's problems with them, but it isn't full of green. And then south of Highway 62, which is the dotted line, they go through the Pinto Basin area and nudge up against the park, okay? Yes.
About the alternatives, it looked like the no-action alternative was some 5,000 miles.
Yes, that's this one.
And the preferred alternative was 10,000.
That's correct.
Does that mean they're going to open routes that are currently closed?
Yes, you will see that. The question was, does 10,000 mean they're going to open routes that are currently closed? Wait till you see what they're going to do. Don't worry about that stuff. This is just look at the map because they put that on there. I didn't put that on there. Okay. So now alternative 3, that's where we're concerned because that's their preferred alternative. That's what's out for us to comment on. Okay. Now we're looking on the left side. You see Copper Mountain. You see it's way more green within Copper Mountain, and you see all of the other green around in the communities like Desert Heights and Copper Mountain Mesa. Do you see that? Yeah, you'll see. Yes. Yes, you'll see what's happening here. Fortunately, for the first time, they have given us interactive maps so I can deconstruct what they've done. So just hang in there for a minute, okay? So I put red circles around places that you might overlook that now have green that didn't before, and then that big area over by 247 is definitely now full of great routes. Okay. And here we are in Wonder Valley. There's a big increase in the community of Wonder Valley. And what you don't have to do, okay. When I first started seeing those, and they're dotted all over the place, they're discontinuous, and they're the sort of thing that just makes your blood boil. My blood is already boiled. You don't have to do that. I think I've solved what they're trying to do and how we can respond to it. So when I say the impacts of alternative 3, this is their words, okay? It's not mine. So for air quality, the highest mileage of routes near sensitive receptors and residents, raise your hand, any residents who don't like dust, over long term shows moderate reduction in areas that would be susceptible to fugitive dust emissions, which would be less than other alternatives. If you can figure that out, good for you. Geology, soil, and water resources, the highest mileage in close proximity to washes, riparian areas, springs, and erosion-prone areas would have the largest magnitude of direct and cumulative adverse effects to geology, soil, and water resources. So it's the highest mileage. It's going to be bad for geology, soil, and water resources. Wildlife is the same thing. And it will also have the least proactive minimization measures, which are things like you put up signage and you have people out there telling you to slow down, etc. And it also has the least protective goals and objectives. The largest magnitude of direct and cumulative adverse impacts to wildlife resources. That is this 10,428 miles. Next. Same thing with vegetation. Their words exactly, except put vegetation for wildlife. Socioeconomics, largest mileage of motorized routes available to support recreation and authorized users of BLM land. The increase in the mileage of motorized routes would be a beneficial impact to recreation-focused businesses and other authorized users. Okay? Recreation, largest mileage of motorized routes available to support recreation. The increase in the mileage of motorized routes would allow recreation users to be more dispersed, increasing their recreational experience and serving as a beneficial impact as compared to the no-action alternative, which was number 1. Okay? Energy production, utility corridors, and other land uses. This largest mileage will authorize users for energy production, utility corridors, mining, communication sites, etc., to have access, so that makes it a beneficial impact. Cultural resources, They sort of are just like vegetation and wildlife. They will have the least proactive minimization, the least protective goals and objectives, and the largest magnitude of direct and cumulative adverse effects on cultural resources. Visual resources, same, lowest mileage of closed routes, therefore have an adverse impact on visual resources. Next. Special designations, which are areas of critical environmental concern, ACECs, desert wildlife management areas, like for the desert tortoise, wilderness and wilderness study areas, would have the least proactive minimization measures, the least proactive goals and objectives, etc. Noise, largest mileage within close proximity to sensitive human receptors and residences and wildlife receptors. Largest magnitude of direct and cumulative adverse impacts resulting from noise. Travel and management, transportation, widest network of motorized routes, maximizing connections to adjacent jurisdictions and access to private land and authorized uses. There would be a direct beneficial impact to travel and transportation management. Yes. Climate change. There will be no change in greenhouse gas emissions because by doubling the mileage out there, there's going to be no change. If you can figure that one out, none of the alternatives will have any change in greenhouse gases. In fact, the BLM will tell you that even though they're doubling the routes, there will be no additional riders in the desert. They will build it and no one will come. Okay. Now I have done the pros and cons. The pros, alternative 3 requires, in terms of effort and money, requires the least proactive minimization measures and the least protective goals and objectives while doubling the route miles in the no action alternative. That's good for them. It increases motorized miles of routes in the West Mojave Network to 10,428 miles without changes in the motor and vehicle use of miles traveled in the planning area. Build it and they will not come. Socioeconomics, good for recreation-focused businesses. Recreation allows recreational users to be more dispersed, increasing their experience, a beneficial impact. Energy production supports access to new authorized users of energy production. Travel and management, widest network of motorized routes, maximizing connections to adjacent jurisdictions and access to private land and authorized users. Climate change, no change in direct or indirect greenhouse gas emissions for motorized vehicles. Okay, these are their words. Okay, next. Cons, geology, soil, and water resources, screwed. Vegetation, wildlife, socioeconomics, communities, property values, tourists, tourism-based businesses, quality of life, health, screwed. Cultural resources, screwed. Visual resources, screwed. Special designation, screwed. Noise, loud so, screwed. Okay, next. The inconsistencies. We're going to do maps after I get through this part. 10,428 miles of routes in close proximity to erosion-prone areas would, over the long term, show a moderate reduction in areas that would be susceptible to fugitive dust emissions. The accuracy of this analysis is not documented in their plan. 10,428 miles of routes would not lead to changes in the motorized vehicle use of miles traveled in the planning area and therefore would not result in any increase or decrease in direct or indirect greenhouse gas emissions from motorized vehicles. The accuracy of this analysis is not documented. 10,428 miles of routes, the largest mileage of motorized routes available to support recreation, will not result in an increased number of riders. Tell this to the freeway designers that thought adding extra lanes would make for less congestion. Okay? All right, I'm just going to give some examples of what it looks like around here and the problems that we have. This is a dust storm from November 30th in 2014. And the BLM at that time said that the 300 people that were riding there, they couldn't deal with it. The 10,400, this is a quote again from the executive summary, 10,428 miles of routes on dirt roads, and then I add many across sand sheets and on dry lake beds, quote, would provide a reduction in areas releasing fugitive dust. Okay, next. Then even with 10,428 miles of routes, this is what we get. Copper Mountain Mesa, you have County Road, Old Chisholm Road, which is not an off-road vehicle road, and then you see the off-road vehicle roads that shoot up. They just make new roads. So experience tells us we never will have enough, okay? Examples, trails that, BLM trails that terminate on county roads. The riders, well, on the left-hand side, you can see them going south, and there's a photograph of 2 quads that have taken that road. And then on the one to the right, you can see they've taken the other opportunity from that same hypotenuse there, BLM route. So go back a sec. That's okay. And so you can see they drop down, and they're also illegally riding in the 2 motorcycles. You can see dust. You can also see it's not a heavily traveled or should not be heavily traveled area. Okay, thank you. Burrowing owls, species of special concern. Even on the BLM's website, they to minimize problems, they suggest limit vehicle speeds on secondary and back roads, and prohibit off-road vehicles in areas of occupied and potential burrowing owl habitat. This is a burrowing owl in an abandoned tortoise burrow up in Copper Mountain Mesa. Alternative 3 requires the least proactive minimization measures and the least protective goals and objectives. It would have the largest magnitude of direct and cumulative adverse impacts to wildlife resources. Next. Same with desert tortoise. A recent study of desert tortoise populations by biologists in the western Mojave Desert revealed that, quote, if off-road vehicles use may harm tortoise populations not only directly through trampling tortoises and collapsing burrows, but by reducing the amount of seasonal food available to the tortoises. The burrowing owl and desert tortoises are resident of Copper Mountain Mesa. They live within the 29 Palms to Joshua Tree wildlife linkage, which is not included in the WEMO maps on the Morongo Basin area. Okay? The BLM Transportation Network, currently, this is bycatch. Does everybody see what that is? Okay, so that we don't have to read on how to play with the maps. That's on there if you, because you can use this to get there. But no, go back. You're too fast. Okay, so, okay, go to the map. There, stay there. The maps, now the interactive maps, when you open them, the default map will give you alternative 3 and the routes not BLM. What are those routes not BLM? They're basically the dirt roads that are out there that we all travel in all our communities. Pardon me? And some of us live on. Oh, yes. Well, a lot of us live on. We'll get to that. And it looks like a regular street map. You don't see big green blotches or something to make you aware. So you do what you normally do with street maps. You don't become wildly alert. The tan color, which is not so easily visible through this, but it is if you look at it on your own computer, is the BLM land. White is private and local government land, okay? If you turn off the alternative 3 and the routes, you get what is the base map, which is white, and it has no layers except that it has a bunch of freckles. What are those freckles? The freckles are route numbers. Okay. Okay. These now that was at 16% magnification. You see that up there? This is at 150%. You see all those route numbers? Next. In alternative 1, which is the 5,000 routes and goes back to 2006, those route numbers are red, which means that this time they are not mechanized. Okay, do you understand that?
Yeah, what does mechanized mean?
Drive on it. It means you can't drive on it. You're not. That's not open for off-road vehicles.
Off-road, are you? I guess what I'm confused about so far.
Okay.
But you know far more than.
Well, I'll try to make you.
Is what is I see there's a lot of
just hang in there for a second, because I went through those questions. I know, well, you should be. BLM has a lot of land out there, and along the edges, they have these routes, and they draw red lines because they're not open to off-road vehicle traffic now. If you go to alternative 3 next, now those red become green, okay? If alternative 3 becomes approved, these would now be open to driving. Motorized vehicles, off-roading is encouraged. Next. So if you back up again, and you can see how much of that is within your area, where there hasn't been any.
But didn't we have someone here tell us that an off-road vehicle is not allowed on the county roads, but you're saying they are allowed on
No, I'm not. I'm just saying this is the plan right now. We're looking at the BLM plan, okay? This isn't our plan. This isn't Captain Monterey's plan. This is what. Well, it's hard. It's hard. Believe me. You think it.
They're putting them on county roads.
Yeah. And the next picture. Keep going. Keep going. Now back. You went too fast. Okay, now you will see all the Greene County roads, and I add over there on the left, it says routes non-BLM. Those are our county roads, and you see they connect all the green. They use the county roads to connect all of the BLM in dispersed routes to make a network. Does that make sense? We're seeing this because this is a plan that BLM has released to the public. They, on Wednesday, will be getting comments down in Yucca Valley from those people who live in this region. It goes through a process, and then when they get the comments, they will incorporate those, and then they will try to pass this to become what they could say is the law of the land for them. I mean, it's hard to grasp. Well, please, nobody does.
Oh, okay. All right, I mean, I can accept
Okay,
that.
yeah.
Is this because it would make your job easier not having to monitor so many restricted routes?
They're not saying that this is going to make their job easier. It boggles the mind to see them have lost in court because they weren't following NEPA and protection of wildlife and that sort of thing, and they had routes that were going up to the edge of property, jumping over and going to the other side. And what they have done in response is double that. I know we need to respond because otherwise they'll think we like it.
Pat, could you mention that those roads are not, the green is not connected?
The green, that's right. So now you see the blue lines between it? Those blue lines are county dirt roads. All the green is BLM. It's hard to grasp, but we'll keep going, and then pretty soon I think you'll grasp it. Nobody said it had to make sense. Nobody said that we had to, sit down and agree with it. This is what they give to us as a plan that they want to approve. Okay, next. You can see that there's some hashing there. That's turning on the residential layer. And so there's private land and residential land, and BLM motorized routes are in the residential community and occasionally in residential land. That just is the way the map is, okay? This, by the way, as I say, this PowerPoint is available for you to ponder over.
When you look at the PowerPoint, are you able to see like what the roads are versus what the numbers are? So we know like where that is?
No, I'll tell you how to do that later, okay? Because I just found out myself, because the maps are really hard to read if you want to find your road. Okay. So taking a step back, those are at 50%. Those are all the roads in the Copper Mountain Mesa going over towards Desert Heights, and all of those have green pieces on them. Okay, go. This is another area. Guess where this is? We're going to go through the same thing. I'm not going to show you alternative 1. I'm just going to start with alternative 3. Those are the BLM routes. Go. connected in this community. Now they're connected. So they wouldn't be there except that they wouldn't be a network except they're connected because of county roads. Go. Now you can see that we're on the edge of the Marine base. You see the golf course up there? You see the pink area? Does everybody see that? So they now have routes which they never had before going right up to the boundary of the Marine base. And the one I'm just so in love with is down on the lower right. There's a protected area of the Mesquite Dunes, and there's a Jeep road going off of Morongo. And that's where people go in and they steal wood and they do all kinds of things. So BLM in their wisdom in their little section in there have put a green line. So now you can drive your off-road vehicle legally. Okay. Wonder Valley. Now we see a lot of the alternative 3. You see the green. You see that they're all connected. And then the image at the bottom, that's what gives you the ground background. Okay. Now we're going to just go in closer to that. This is the kind of network in the center of Wonder Valley where the BLM, with their checkerboard pattern, have edges that can be legalized, according to them. Okay. Then that works because they are all on county dirt roads. Okay. And then when you look at that, you can see, in this case, I've shown you a picture where the roads, you can actually see they're dotted dirt roads. So they knew about this. Okay. This is over to 247 is running down through the middle of it. So you have the area around Black Lava Butte and up in, what is the name of that community up there? Flamingo Heights. I kept wanting to say Friendly Hills, and I'm going, no, that's not right. Flamingo Heights. And none of these communities are mentioned at all in the report, in the plan. So you can see this is their preferred. Now go to the next. This is looking at the routes. There is wildlife linkage here. It comes in off of the San Bernardino Mountains. You can see how considerate they are of the wildlife linkage. That's Pipe Wash on the right. This shows you an alternative one. There's a bunch of red lines. Those are the ones that are currently not open. Go. Now, this is what they want to open. So they'll make through driving down into Gamma Gulch and Pipes Canyon. And you'll also notice up here that this really doesn't work here unless they utilize county roads coming in off of streets, then allowing entrance. Okay. Homestead Valley, similar. You have you don't have a lot of green here. Go. That's all. Go. Now, but that connects everything. Go. This one, I love this one. This has a wildlife linkage in it. All right. Yeah, and look at the number of routes. Oh, by the way, when they come to visit, they're actually going to have somebody there who would like you to tell which routes you don't like and to give them the numbers. And it closes on June 4th, so get counting. And, okay. Go. Connect those. No, so that's all the BLM routes. But if you really want it, by the way, none of that's there now. Okay, go. Turn the next one. Now, you all know where this is in South Joshua Tree? Go. You know where that is? Go. It's near a community because it goes and interacts with community roads. Go. Oh, there's Section 6 and Section 5. I believe Section 6, you're not supposed to drive through it in off-road vehicles, but that's the entryway into their riding area in Section 5. And Victoria will tell you that that's actually private land. Part of that is private land to get onto that Section 5, and they direct you through somebody's driveway. Okay. That doesn't look like much. Remember the crosshatch is residential, it's just a few. Okay. Okay. Section 13, 16 and 7, or 18 and 17. Section 18 is BLM land, and so they're getting you off the streets into the land. Section 17 is currently going to be, being purchased by the Mojave Desert Land Trust, and you'll notice that the green line there just directs everybody in there, even though they're not turning on the routes, okay? So in this area, I was pointing out, in case I hadn't mentioned it, there is a wildlife linkage, but in that particular map, it shows up in the upper left-hand corner. There is a wildlife linkage where that red circle is on the right, and it goes north at a side of an angle, and it would be in those two places we just looked at, except it's missing. It's missing throughout the Morongo Basin. Okay. Oh, what's this? There's just two. Why do I worry about that? Okay. Oh, now this is weird. We have 102746, which is red, and then something with no number down there. But then we have a blue line, which is a non-BLM road. It's either the county or the city with a BLM route number. Okay. Oh, now, good. It's alternative 3. It's been BLM motorized. Now, that's good. Okay. Oh, look, there's your neighborhood. There's the resident. 49 Palms Canyon. Is that cool? Now you can get into 49 Palms Canyon. Okay. Takeaway points. Pass this to the BLM. He's got such a fast finger. Proposed BLM mechanized routes within the Morongo Basin hijack county roads, often within communities, to construct the BLM route network. Currently, the BLM Transportation Network Plan is neither compatible nor cohesive with local transportation planning. You can reference the WEMO 2014 maps, which we have just seen, the WEMO Supplemental EIS Planning Criteria, page 1-14. Okay. The BLM Transportation Network, as it utilizes county roads, encourages illegal off-road vehicle travel, trespass on private property, endangers wildlife and sensitive plant communities, and encourages trespass into wilderness, the Marine Base, Joshua Tree National Park, and the National Forest. See the WEMO 2014 maps. The use of the county rural residential roads violates the San Bernardino County Off-Highway Vehicle Ordinance 28.040, which seeks to protect residential neighborhoods from the effects of OHV use such as noise, dust, smoke, and fumes. For that, see Ordinance 3973 in 2006 and Ordinance 28.040, 2010. The BLM has not consulted with the county supervisors or the sheriff to ensure cooperation. Such consultation is a specific requirement in their plan, which is the West Mojave Route Network planning process. See 2005 WEMO's Supplemental EIS Planning Criteria, page 1-14. The Wonder Valley subregion in TM3, which is where we are, does not incorporate the 29 Palms Joshua Tree linkage connection as required under NEPA to reveal the threat of the project to wildlife and plants. Next. If the BLM WEMO is approved, property values, tax revenues, land use, the federal designation of off-road vehicle routes occurs in such a way that the county roads become ORV routes. This forever changes their use both as to the number of vehicles, types of vehicles, and the personal goals of the new ORV traffic, to say nothing of the residents. Real estate sellers are required by law to disclose material externalities that affect the use and enjoyment of their lands. The WEMO Transportation Network is such an externality. This externality will adversely affect private property values and, by extension, tax revenues. The breadth of the transportation network across the West Mojave and through communities will encourage real estate salespersons to reinvigorate the buy land cheap, bring your toys strategy. I have some questions. Are the 10,243 route miles in the Alternative 3 route network entirely on BLM, or does the mileage include the routes non-BLM that are often but not always county roads? So we don't know that. If the 10,243 miles do not include routes non-BLM, what would be the total mileage of the network if the routes non-BLM were included? So how much are we really looking at? In any event, the WeMo route network does not work without county and private property roads to connect the pieces of the BLM motorized routes checkerboarded throughout the subregion. That being the case, why is a CEQA review not included in the plan, since it clearly affects county and private property? And CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act, and I believe that this should incorporate that. Okay? The WeMo SEIS documents and maps, they're on the BLM website, the Community Off-Road Vehicle Watch. The COW website is full of thoughtful information, including background on the lawsuit that is comprehensible. The PowerPoint is available on the COW website, as it is on the Morongo Basin Conservation Association website, and comment letters are due no later than June 4. Okay? Finally, what to do now. Wednesday, April 15th, from 6 to 9 p.m., please attend the final public meeting at the Yucca Valley Community Center in the Yucca Room in Yucca Valley. Final comments must be submitted by June 4. You can do it by email or you can write in. So, do you understand the maps now? Do you understand what they've done? You don't have to understand why they've done it, because nobody does. But you can see what they have done. They have used checkerboarded county land, connected the checkerboard with, checkerboarded BLM land and connected it with county roads to make a transportation route network going through the entire basin. They actually do not go through the city of 29 Palms, except they kind of encourage you to take Mesa and get through that donut of 29 Palms to get to the other side to Wonder Valley. Well, it looks like another lawsuit, but we really have to make some kind of comments, and there's nothing wrong with using the wording there, and that's on the sheet you can pick up there, because that is all substantive and extraordinarily basic complaints.
Is the county making any, is the county gonna step up and?
Well, the county, I have sent them my PowerPoint, and I would hope to give a paper copy to Phil Pauley, but he wasn't able to stay, but I'm going to give a copy to our sheriff. Did you copy it off? Yeah, I thought you'd like a paper copy too. Yeah, exactly. I mean, paper's nice. And Cal is buying my ink, so I could do that. I also found out to print the maps so that we could have had them on the wall for you to see. They're like this. Each one costs $76. So guess what? I didn't do it. But in the process, there's some over on the table there. I found out something new. For me to do that separation of maps, of the layers in the maps, I needed to acquire Adobe Acrobat Pro, which could be very expensive, but you get 1 month free, so I used that 1 month. But today, I thought, oh, what can I bring? You know, even though we're 8.5 by 11. I found out that if you open the maps in Adobe Reader, and just don't look at it at the 16%, zero in, and you will see the green, and you know what the green does. It connects to county roads. And so now we know what happens. Before, you just kept going, why are they doing this? Why do they have those, staccato lines all over the place? But now we know it's because they're connected to county roads. And they don't have permission. Yes?
Just a question real quick. What group do you represent?
I represent Desert Heights.
What now?
For the MAC. This is Mike. What group do I represent? I'm actually doing this as the representative for Desert Heights because now our entire community is having another event happening. Right. So that's why I am doing this. But I also I work with all other groups, but this was on my own as that's my job.
I have a question because somebody asked, does the county have this? But she brings up a good point.
I have given it, I've sent that to Phil Polly at his office, and I will follow up. I had a paper copy for him. I do believe that the MAC should put together a resolution, and in which we could do, probably have to, this is all very fast. I mean, we only had, what is it, 60 days or something like that to comment. Absolutely no comment. Would you like to perhaps mention what you consider this will do to the job of the sheriffs around here? Because we don't have but 2 BLM officers, and they're not down here.
Well, I don't know what it's going to do yet because we don't have, any information. And like I mentioned at a previous meeting, when you had mentioned that the BLM is stating it's not going to have any impact with additional OHV use, again, my personal opinion is I don't think that you or anybody can then make the comment, oh yes it is, unless we've got some data to back it up. Otherwise it's just a war of words. So I don't know what it's going to do. I have my opinion, and that's all it is it is an opinion, because as they have more and more major off-road events, whether it's the Sheriff's Department Search and Rescue Team doing an off-road event, a legal off-road event, King of the Hammers, as people come out here and explore our area, my personal opinion is I think that will invite them to return to the area and continue to recreate out here. And while I believe 95% of them are trying to ride legally, I think that's going to lead into some illegal areas and more traffic, so on and so forth. That's just my opinion, because I don't have any data to support that yet, because like Pat said, this just has started and hit us. So yeah, I don't know what it's going to do. I would imagine that it would increase our calls for service, but again, that's just mere speculation. Does anybody else have any, well, I've got the microphone, and you know how rough it is for me to give it up. Does anybody have any questions for me, law enforcement related? Yes, sir.
Currently, is it legal or illegal, like when my neighbors and their kids get on their quads and run around on the county dirt roads in my neighborhood?
As a general rule, I would say it is illegal unless it is in a legal riding area. So, but if they're on a designated county road, it's, yeah, it is illegal. Yeah. But you know, and I will say this in defense of responsible riders. So, for example, I know inlanders, I know an individual who lives on a dirt road, and his mail is in one of the cluster boxes up off of Lynn Road. And every day he rides his quad on a dirt road to get his mail. And he's probably riding at about 2 or 3 miles an hour, and he's riding illegally, but he's not creating an issue. So, I mean, I guess it would depend on what type of enforcement action we would take on your neighbors, what they're doing on the roads.
Yeah, no, I've seen that too. And I actually have a moped that I may ride up and get my mail that's 2 blocks away.
Right.
But it's legal
If it's registered and insured, it's legal.
Yeah. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking
Right.
about is a 7-year-old child and a 15-year-old child and an adult on a quad, going wahoo at 40 miles an hour.
Without any safety equipment. Yeah, that would be something that I would imagine that we would enforce. At least the second time. The first time we might do a little education. The second time I would fathom a guess they would, that would be an enforcement.
I'm new to the area, so I'll finish real fast. But I have had some locals tell me that they called the local sheriff's department on people who were doing that and riding on land for sale and yada, yada, yada. And the sheriffs were like, well, we like to ride our bikes too, and so we're not going to do that.
Well, I can tell you that while I wouldn't say that didn't happen, it's not that they're not going to say that and say, we like to ride and we're not going to respond. I have talked to the dispatch commander because I've heard that a lot. That we've got other, which we do have a lot of things that we do, but that's still a call for service. Some of the other areas may ignore those calls. I've talked to the dispatch commander and told him I do not want those calls for service being ignored in the Morongo Basin, and that we will respond. Now the issue may be, that's going to be a priority for a call, and I discussed the prioritizing of our calls at a previous meeting. That's a priority 4 call. So honestly, it may be an hour or more before we would get out there. And by the time we get out there, it's done and over with. And we cannot take enforcement. That's a misdemeanor or an infraction at best. And we cannot take enforcement action on an infraction or a misdemeanor that is not committed in our presence. So, but I will say this. If you get a deputy that shows up and gives you that statement, well, I like to ride and we're not going to do anything about it, you call me and I guarantee that I'll have words with that deputy.
If I call, which I'm unlikely to do, if I got a deputy who told me that, then I would be calling you to bail me out because he would have to arrest me and put me in the back.
Yeah. Or call if you call dispatch, if you get, actually the quickest way to get a resolution, actually in any unpleasant call for service, if you have a deputy who is insolent or rude to you, call back to dispatch, ask to talk to the watch commander, and you will get some immediate attention there.
Okay, and then the last part of my question goes over to Pat. In this interconnection of the network, are they saying that people will, they'll put their stuff in the back of their pickup trucks and drive over to the green area and then they'll run up and down those 3 blocks? Or does this de facto make off-road vehicle riding on the county public dirt roads, which the captain of the sheriff's station has just told me is illegal, does that then convert that to a legal action?
It does not convert it to a legal action. That is where we need to point this out and where the county needs to respond. BLM has done this on their own. They have not consulted with the county. They are obligated to consult with the county. If they wanted to put together a legal network that got them across the basin, they need to have talked to the county. The county, they're going through communities. You know yourself, if you live on a dirt road in a community, if it has a lot of riding on it, pretty soon that road is difficult for standard cars. So it changes the community, it changes the way people respond to things. So, but BLM did this and they neglected to do their consultation. They haven't done it. I don't believe they consulted with the Marine base. I don't believe they consulted with the park to any, they just sort of did it.
Well, I wanted to point one thing out that I haven't seen, some other people notice this too, but you might assume that having twice the mileage of routes would disperse recreation, but that isn't necessarily the case. And people have their favorite places and favorite locations. So it's, we've learned that a lot with wilderness and wilderness management, that people like to go to the same places. And so it doesn't necessarily disperse use. It just opens up other areas.
This is all an opinion by BLM. I use their words. I didn't make anything up. I don't think it's worthwhile. So this is so you don't have to go and read this thing. I think you can get pretty much what you need to know off of that PowerPoint to comment substantially, which is the important thing. You don't just comment saying, I don't like it. You have to say, I don't like it because it's in your neighborhood, those roads were not made for that, et cetera, et cetera. Yes?
You gave scrutiny to the Morongo Basin, but the big map, the overall map on the WEMO project, there's a lot more up north. And they still have all these green lines doing the weird things up there too that we haven't been able to get scrutiny to.
Right.
Other communities will, I suppose.
That's their job. I took 2 weeks to do this. So I can't do other areas, but I have passed this PowerPoint onto others so they can see how to utilize the maps. So they can tell what's happening in there. I do have some over there. You can see what their plan is for Lucerne Valley adjacent to Johnson Valley. And you know, also, this is difficult for riders. Riders don't necessarily want to disrupt your community. But if they don't have any, right now there's no signage in places. It's not the rider's fault. There's nothing there that says you can and can't do stuff. They just do it because it's the road's there and everybody's riding on it. BLM does not put up the signage that they promised to do. They do not have the manpower and they don't have the money. So now they're going to double their routes.
Pat?
Yes?
You, at the very last slide, you had, I think it's this coming Wednesday?
Yes.
6 to 9.
6 to 9 in the Yucca Valley.
And what's going to happen there?
The BLM, when you have this kind of a process in the National Environmental Policy Act, you're required to, first you have scoping, and then you write your project, and then you put it out to the public. This is the last of their put it out to the public meetings before they take those responses and go back and rework it.
So if you want to comment on it, you should go to the Yucca Valley Community Center Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, it'd be really good to have a great showing, and also but you can write or send an email by June 4th. And yeah?
It seemed to me, as I was looking at all of this, that they are actually going to be encouraging people to break the law. Because if a lot of our dirt roads are not supposed to be for off-roading vehicles, but that's the only way for people to get to the land that's BLM land that they say is okay, it just seems like a really crazy way to do this. And I can't make it to that meeting because I have a CSD meeting that night, but I hope a lot of people go to that and bring up all these issues, because it just seems...
It's crazy.
And would you repeat what that website is again, where we can look at it?
Okay, it's on, okay, if you, okay, Community Off-Road Vehicle Watch, just Google Community ORV Watch, or Google MBCA, Mojave, the Morongo Basin Conservation Association. Both of those have put it up to make it available. So I know how it's just really hard to grasp what's going on. But by going and looking at area after area after area, do you get what they're doing?
Yes, you did a very great job. I think it's pretty clear what's
Okay, community reports, anybody?
Could you use the mic, please? We're not hearing these people, Joe.
Sorry. I just wanted to announce that one of our residents in Wonder Valley was awarded a Guggenheim Fellowship for her desert photography. Her name is Susan Lipper. So that's just something we're really proud of.
Joshua Tree, what's going on in Joshua Tree? I guess the Joshua Tree electric bikes just opened. Great news for that. Joshua Tree, second Saturday nights downtown, every Saturday night from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Meet the artists and take a look at some of the art shops down there. And also the Mojave Desert Land Trust, they just debuted their new center on 29 Palms Highway. I think it's up by, the old Hannah's Nursery is where the location is. And they're open now, and they welcome you to stop by and take a look at their new headquarters. That's about it for Joshua Tree.
I don't have anything to report from Morongo Valley this month.
Mary Helen Tuttle, Copper Mountain Mesa, and I have good news. Saturday night movies are returning in May. You can visit our website, coppermountainmesa.org. Watch it. We'll have an update of the movies. They're going to be May through October, third Saturday of the month, around 7 o'clock. It's a very cool thing to go to. I'll be hawking it for a while. And is there anyone here from Yucca Mesa, the Yucca Mesa Improvement Association? Well, they're not, so I can't publicly say to them personally, I think they're pretty wonderful, but if anyone saw what they did for that Abigail Day, that is why we have community centers in this area. It's not owned by the county. The county didn't come up with that idea. Those people did, and they wanted to do $7 grand, and they got $17,000. I think that was a wonderful thing for a community center to do, so. Yeah, I know Abigail Snipes is a resident. Her family is a resident of Yucca Mesa. I know she's a young gal who's been fighting a very odd cancer, and she's in Loma Linda. She's having a number of surgeries. There was a picture of the poor little chick on the front page of the newspaper, and it was really something. And so anyway, they had a day to raise money for her, and it was apparently all word of mouth. It started with they were just going to do a barbecue and have a bake sale. Well, before you know it, like 1,500 people showed up, and everybody's donating money and donating things to do and selling burgers, and they raised all this money with the idea of her family being able then to focus on going back and forth to Loma Linda rather than having to work to pay their bills, because they still have rent and all that to do. So I just think that was a wonderful community-based project, and I was hoping Rick Sayers would be here so I could thank him. But anyway, that's why we have community centers out here, you guys.
Hooray, you just spent an hour listening to my report on Desert Heights and environs. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, that brings us up to some of the last items. Community reports done, and let me see, items for our June meeting. We had scheduled Marina West for a drought report. Yes. No, that's what I wanted to correct. I'm sorry. May, we had it. She is on vacation, and we have postponed that till June. Okay. She's not going to be here in May. She'll be here in June.
Graduating from college, so I won't be here. So May's gonna be
Well, that's a valid excuse, Marina. Thank you. Yes. Sure.
I was wondering, I didn't see anything tonight, and I wondered if there was minutes or an update on the April 2nd meeting that took place down in Altamira. I don't know if you what was the results of that meeting. Are you planning on presenting anything?
No, our hopes was that we'd have a resolution ready. What happened, and I'll explain to the public because you deserve to know briefly. There was original resolution made in, I believe, December. And what we didn't know, or what I didn't know, and when we scheduled the meeting, was that there was a rebuttal on every point of the resolution by the developer of Altamira, Terra Nova. So we really didn't come up with a resolution based on that new information. We are going to schedule another meeting, and we've decided on kind of a two-prong approach. Number one, the meeting pointed out that we really need a lot of questions answered by the developer. So we're going to have another meeting. We're going to come up with a list of questions and concerns, present that to them, and hopefully they'll be willing to have another presentation at one of our open committee meetings. At that point, then we'll take that information, get back together, and drop a resolution. The least that I'm hearing from people that were in that meeting was at least we need a resolution to ask the county to mandate a environmental impact report from which right now it's not in the works. So that's the update on the Altamira project. Yes, we are still working on it, and those are the specifics. Okay. But any other questions? Go ahead.
On the minutes, it referred to a resolution for this month prohibiting solar and wind energy farms. Was that continued to next month?
That was a mistake. I don't know how that got on there, and it was probably left over from another agenda. Yeah. That's something that the land use committee can take up, but I saw that on there also, and that's a mistake. I'm sorry that got on there. Okay. All right, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.